Good evening and welcome to the City of Helena City Commission meeting, November 6, 2023, 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk.
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Shurtleff.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Our commission meetings from 10/30/23 were received. Do we have any corrections, addition? Minutes will stand as submitted. Consent agenda, one motion. Consider buy-sell agreement for purchase of land as described as parcel A2 of COS 3088241 in Lewis and Clark County for the purpose of drilling wells to perfect City of Helena's groundwater reservation. And who's discussing this? I didn't see his name here. Director Leland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. This is a consent agenda item to enter into a buy-sell agreement with Gary Burnham, to purchase roughly a little over 4 acres of property across from the Missouri River Treatment Plant. It is a great location to be able to drill wells to try and perfect our water rights. It is in close proximity. We already have 3 well-producing wells right next to the water treatment plant, and we'll be able just to bore under the highway, so it will save a lot of money in the long run because of the proximity of it, and then there is no development around the water treatment plant. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Mayor, one other thing is we did budget $500,000 to purchase this property. It was the one that was brought forward during the budget process, and so we are well under it at $305,000.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just really briefly, does the delta between what we budgeted and what we're actually going to pay for it, does that remain in Public Works or does that go back into the general fund?
Mayor, Commissioner, it is enterprise fund, so it does stay in water, and our proposal is to actually take that excess and put it into the well project because we have a lot more expenses to be able to develop everything. We're just budgeting it as an incremental phased program, so we are just planning to take that and use it for more of the well programs, basically drill the wells on the property.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this matter? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
move the approval of the consent agenda item A.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan. Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shurtleff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Commissioners' proposals, communications, any? Report of the city attorney.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Report of the city manager.
Mayor, I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Communications from Helena Citizens Council. Representative Perry, you have the floor.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Commission. This is Nancy Perry from HCC District 2. Our last HCC meeting was October 25th, and we had 2 visitors from the city. The first one was Mr. Craig Marr from the Parks Department, who spoke to us about care and maintenance of the city parks. He listed all the parks and discussed what his department does to maintain them, which was a great long list. He also answered our questions about spraying insecticides and herbicides on the park grass. All of the members of HCC had received an email from a Helena resident who described her concern with spraying poison on the grass at Centennial Park, particularly at the dog park. She was concerned about dogs possibly eating the grass after it had been sprayed and little kids playing on the newly sprayed grass. And Mr. Marr agreed with HCC members who said that the public needs to be notified anytime the grass has been sprayed. He mentioned that it's hard to get adequate signage up on sprayed grass to tell children and dogs to stay off of the grass. He promised to relay our concerns to others at the park department, and they would try to solve the problem of the signage. We were also visited by Mr. Michael Alvarez from the City Planning Department, who talked to us about the city's new sign code. We had first learned about the new sign code on Be Heard Helena. Mr. Alvarez said that the sign code hasn't been updated for 23 years, and the old code needs to be updated to address new sign technology, which he referred to as electronic messages. I'd never heard of that. Anyway, we really appreciated both Mr. Marr and Mr. Alvarez taking the time to talk to us. And unless there are any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Representative Perry. Any comments or questions for Representative Perry? Thanks. Regular items. Consider a request for enlargement of sanitary sewer service boundary for property located at 2167 Head Lane, legally described as Lot 5 of the Country Club Park subdivision, Lewis and Clark County. Director Leland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Let's see. Can you see it? All right, thank you, Mayor and Commission. Sorry for the delay. This is another enlargement of the water and sewer service boundary. To give a little bit of history, is Fort Harrison and the VA, which is located right here. And then you can see Green Meadow Country Club here. Spring Meadow is located over here. So this is outside city limits. And then this is Head Lane. This is Oddfellows located here. And in '97, the fort had lagoons that were here that were failing in this location. So they did a study, and the best alternative was to run a gravity sewer main from the fort all the way to city limits and put a lift station located at Horseshoe Bend to go to the city limits. So with that main out there, we have had several requests to be able to connect to it. These are the properties that the commission has approved to be connected to it. There's been some that have been approved through the years, some that have been denied through the years. So with this is the new property at 2167 Head Lane that they would like to connect to it. And with that, they'd have to waiver of right to protest SIDs, waiver of road improvements, a whole bunch of other improvements with it. And they can only do single family residence without coming to us. So it gives us some control of what is being done out in that location and what can actually be built. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Director Leland. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr.
Please,
Mayor.
go ahead.
So I think you just answered my first one, and then I do have a second one. This is a totally new single-family residence that's being proposed.
Mayor Commission, yes, it is. It's currently a field right now being hayed.
Okay, and then I believe this is accurate, but this is not within the urban standards boundary, correct?
Mayor, Commissioner, no, it is not.
Okay.
But we do have that main out there, and there's several others that have been connected.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Leland, if you can use the mouse to just show where are existing city limits in relation to the proposed property?
Mayor, Commissioner, it's basically down here at the fairgrounds around, and then comes up into Country Club Avenue, and then out Green Meadow a ways, because this is in city limits here. Then we have Our Redeemer's Church that is located right there. So that is city limits at this time.
Okay. And just a follow-up. So as far as sort of anticipating annexation down the road, is this short-term, medium-term, nowhere on the radar, referencing the urban standards boundary? What is our sort of forward-looking view of this location?
Mayor, Commissioner, at this time, it is a very long ways out there. One of our biggest concerns is with emergency services, having the railroad crossing on Head Lane and just how we can serve that area. And working with the planning department, it is a very long-term range to annex out at that location.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this matter? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr.
Mr. Mayor.
Go
Oh, sorry, I
Go
was
ahead,
wondering,
Commissioner.
could I ask one more question of Director Leland?
go ahead.
So I'm wondering, can you maybe
Director
talk?
Leland?
Sorry. Can you maybe talk a little bit about why this is not a suitable development for them to have their own septic? I think that this area is kind of and we've had, since I've been on the commission, we've only had one other request. It's an interesting conundrum almost, because it's not necessarily, the reason it's not in the urban standards boundary, from what I understand, is because it's not necessarily suitable for single-family home development or greater density. So I guess, can you talk about some of the engineering of why the septic is not an option for them?
Mayor, Commissioner, it is because of the high groundwater. There's very high groundwater in this area. Some of it would have to be very advanced treatment, which is very expensive, or may not be allowed at all. It depends on where in this location the property is located, but it is such high groundwater. That's why the well and septic, or the septic system, is what we're looking at is not permitted, and that's why they are asking to connect. One other reason for the for not being in the growth area is the agreement with Fort Harrison to try not to have very dense area in these locations because of the operations that they have out there. So that's an agreement that we have, so that's why it isn't included either.
Thanks.
Please.
Director Leland, I know that you mentioned SIDs and the waiver of right to protest. That also includes annexation, correct?
Mayor, City Manager, yes, it does. It includes all that, so we can annex it whenever we feel that it is best interest of the city.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would move to approve the enlargement of the existing sanitary sewer service boundary to include the Ramirez property located at 2167 Head Lane Road, and enter into a development agreement with the City of Helena with the following conditions. 1, waiver of the right to protest annexation into the City of Helena. 2, waiver of the right to protest future special improvement districts for water, streets, and sidewalk. 3, obtain all applicable city permits and pay all applicable fees. 4, accept city metering on the sanitary sewer service for billing and the associated cost. 5, purchase sewer capacity for the proposed residents in the Stone Meadows pump station at 42 cents per GPD for 268 GPD at a cost of $112.56. 6, restrict the use of 4, one single-family residence only, and 7, participate in the construction and extension of the city water system at such time as the water system would benefit the owner's property.
Commissioners? Did you visit a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean?
No.
Commissioner Logan?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
No.
Commissioner Shertliff?
No.
Mayor Collins?
Aye.
The motion fails 3-2.
Consider a variance request to not extend sewer through the frontage of the property on Washington Street for the King Commons development. Director Leland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioner. Just give me a second. All right, thank you, Mayor. Commission. This was the tabled item that we had some miscommunication with the recommendation from staff and what was with the commission. That was my fault. There was miscommunication with admin assistant. We wanted to change what it was saying on the agenda, and then the recommendation was supposed to be approve, table, or deny. And when I suggested the change, I said just put the approve down here. I meant approve, table, or deny, and approval was all that came out. So that is my fault. It was miscommunication. Did not stay on top of that since it was already approved. So I apologize with that. So I'll go forward. The request is for a variance not to extend sewer main in Washington Street. This is for Kings Common. I can't seem to get oh, there it is. Kings Common is located here in the blue. This is the roundabout, this is the wastewater treatment plant, this is town pump, and this is one lot that was annexed into the city, I believe, about 1.5 years ago. They are currently under construction for the water and sewer and roads and everything that is needed for annexation on this portion of the property that is just south of the irrigation canal. And then there's going to be a second phase on their part as far as construction that is located north of the irrigation canal. One of the requirements is to extend sewer down to a lift station that will be located approximately in this location to be extended up. They have designed the property and have chosen to extend the sewer down this location through the middle of the property, so they are not in need for the development to have that sewer location as it currently is. However, by city code, it is to extend water and sewer across the frontage of the property so that adjacent property owners can be able to connect to it, so you have a fairness in how the system is systematically extended. The adjacent property owner is us. It's a stormwater pond that is located out there. So with this variance, who actually would be impacted is, yes, the developer can extend this main and then propose a rebate or reimbursement or latecomers fee, however you want to phrase it. So if the city ever does sell this or decide to develop it on our own, we would have to pay a latecomers fee or whoever the developer is if that property no longer is in city hands. So that is just where we are located in this one. Is the developer has said they do not not need that, and their current design shows that they have sewer through their property and can get to that lift station. So that's why it's an approved table or deny. City code has you extend the sewer, but we are the adjacent property owners, and I don't know if we have, as Public Works, we do not have any proposal to be able to put any development out there or buildings, but it is a city-owned property, so I'd be happy to answer it at this time.
Thank you, Director Leland. Comments or questions from the commission? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Director Leland, what is your recommendation on this one?
Mayor, Commissioner, it is actually approved table or deny, because it is in your hands is if it will be developed. If we have an idea as a commission or as a city that we may put something out there, then mine would be denial, because we need that to go in prior to the road going out there. But I don't have any master plan or any plans to be able to develop it at this time. So by city code, it says do this. So we've been informed by previous city attorneys that we can't say approve. We have to stick by what the city code says. So that is why it is an approved table or deny. And I truly, my opinion is I could go either way. It's just, do we have development proposed?
Any other comments from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I guess my question is, I mean, does this cause issues later on down the line if there's future development north of this? Because we know that everyone, I mean, immediately into the county, that is where they're starting to adopt, zoning that reflects the cities, and we've had lots of requests for folks to start being annexed in, et cetera, and we have, I foresee that will probably happen more and more, given the density that's occurring there. So, are we, by approving this variance, do we hamstring future development because it's not ready to go, or does that have an impact?
Mayor, Commissioner, no, it does not. This is a dead-end sewer main. Just because it goes to a lift station, that is the only place that it gravities to. So nothing else, there's no way to really extend this main to have any benefit. So if anything north of this location on other city property does get developed, they either have to gravity back towards the city, or they're going to have to move the lift station, and that has zero effect on this. So it that's why could not have a true, a very strong recommendation, because it is a dead end main. It is only going to serve our property, and that is it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I guess for Mr. Leland, and perhaps if there's public comment, I would have the question for the representative of the developer. Do they need this main?
Mayor, Commissioner, to serve their property as it currently is designed, we do not have a building plan in for the north section of this is no. And their development, and that is part of their variances, they will use the sewer mains that are already going to be installed or installed across the property that is serving this portion of the development.
Mr. Mayor, follow up maybe for us, I guess, is if this is not required for their development, the code, City Code 6-3-4, the following criteria apply to wastewater main extensions, lift stations, force mains, and interceptor mains, and providing for a rebate of reimbursable costs. A, where wastewater main extensions are required to serve facility structures or subdivisions, installation must conform to the following requirements, and so on. So if this is not required for them, for this subdivision, then why would we ask for them to put it in? So That's just for us to consider. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I'd be interested in, and I guess I might further say is if the land is developed in the future by others, whether that's us or others, wouldn't it make more sense for that main to be put in by that developer that's rolling that project out? So that's kind of where I'm at, and I would be interested if having a question for public comment should it arise. Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this topic?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner. Again, my name is Jeff Larson. I'm representing Helena King Commons LLC, and they're the developer of the Kings Commons project. First of all, I just want to say, I mean, we definitely recognize the need for this regulation or this requirement. I mean, when you're developing things and developments are hopscotching, we do want to provide the services needed to move into the next property. But, there are situations where that really doesn't fit, and I think this is one of those types of situations, in my opinion, and that's why we have variances. And so we can discuss it and hopefully come to a resolution on it. So to talk a little bit more specifically about it, as Mr. Leland said, let's see, did I lose my, well, anyway, there it is, there we go. So within the development, I mean, we've got everything designed, all the buildings are connected, there is no problem serving any building that's in the development. So really the place we're talking about is your regional stormwater pond, and then also this property, just to clarify, this is a Northwest Energy substation, so it's, it's not gonna be redeveloped or changed anytime for a very, very long time. But to talk about your property a little bit more, in a little more detail, this, this is a big pond, and a lot of earth has been moved, and it's actually, this is a fairly significant slope off the edge of the road there. So to develop the first thing you'd have to do is bring in a tremendous amount of fill. And then generally, though, the property, even before it was excavated for the ponds, it sloped to the northwest, so it sloped out into this corner. And really, if you're going to serve this whole property and develop it, the place you'd want to serve it from is down here, and we would need a lift station or something to serve the vast majority of it. You could maybe serve one row of houses along this edge, and that would be, in my opinion, about the best you could do without, I mean, really significant amounts of fill. So, putting this main in, it's not going to serve anything. It's 4 manholes, almost 1,000 feet of pipe. It's probably $60,000 to $70,000 of investment that I don't think we will ever see used. And the only comment that had maybe a bit of validity to it last week, Mr. Clark talked about a shop building, and there is maybe a potential site right there for a shop building. It's tight. I don't know if it would work. But to put in that amount of infrastructure to serve one building, I mean, I think the intent of the regulation is we're looking at development and, and something that we're fairly sure is going to happen. And to provide this amount of, or spend this amount of money for maybe one potential little building site, and I just don't think it's a wise decision. And I would make the point too that if anybody was ever serious about this, the less expensive way to serve it is to tie it into a main that's closer up in this area here. So I hope that helps clarify our position. We just don't, you know, if we build that main, it is not going to be used for a very, very long time and probably never, in my opinion. I'm available for any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions from the commission? Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. So knowing that the code requires the main to be built in that location, can you explain a bit about why you chose not to do it that way?
Yes, to save money. I mean, we have mains that were required internal to the development. The development is fairly large, long buildings, and to extend to just serve, one more building, it just works out. It's probably half or a third of the money that it would be to extend it along Washington Street. So that's why we did it that way.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any other public comments? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Please, go ahead.
I would move to approve the variance request for extending sewer through the frontage of the property on Washington Street for the Kings Common development.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Consider approval of the reconstruction, replacement of 3 sets of double exterior door and restored approximately 100 windows for property subject to scenic facade easement located on 104 East Broadway. Heritage Preservation Officer Attardo, you have the floor.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm just going to see if I can find my PowerPoint here. Is there a share drive that it would be on? I see some are directly loaded on here, but I don't see. If you go to this. If you give me a moment, I'll try and log in and see if I can get you. Okay. Well, I can begin by telling you a few things about it before you see the photographs. So this is regarding a facade easement on 104 East Broadway. There are approximately 19 facade easements in the city of Helena that were put on during urban renewal. This one in particular on 104 East Broadway, which is the former Masonic Temple. This was put on in 1978, and they follow with the property. They're recorded with the deed records in perpetuity. And so what this facade easement requires of the Heritage Tourism Council as well as the commission is to look at whatever improvements somebody is going to make to the owners, are going to make to the facade of the building. And the facade includes everything, the front, all four sides, and the roof. And so what the owners of this building are proposing to do is they're going to replace some double doors. These are the exterior double doors. Some are to apartments and some are to commercial units located in the building. So because these facade easements were put on using HUD funds, that means that the Secretary of the Interior standards apply because these buildings this building is listed on the National Register. It's a contributing property to the Helena Historic District. And so that is just a quick rundown of what this building is. So what we're asking is the owners propose to replace repair doors, 3 double sets of doors, and approximately 100 windows. These windows are about 9 feet. They're over 9 feet tall, and the Heritage Tourism Council reviewed this at their October 17th, 2023 meeting, and they recommended that the repairs be approved because they're appropriate and they for the building, and they are consistent with the Secretary of the Interior's standards for historic preservation. Any luck? No. No worries. Okay, so I'm sorry I can't show you the photographs today. Technical difficulties, as you noted in the beginning. Does anybody have any questions regarding it?
Thank you, Officer Attardo. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, just one question. I'm excited that they are planning to make these upgrades. Do you know what the timeline is for completion?
I don't. I do know that they are intending to apply for TIF funds.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Officer Attardo, in terms of the HUD funds that you got, the Housing and Urban Development Funds, how much did you get for that? From them?
You know, that was in 1978.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how much they
Before
got.
you were born.
Yeah.
Right, just about a year before I was born, too. But where the funds to, is the owner of the building funding this? And then you're looking at TIF funds, you said?
Yeah, I believe they applied for the, I don't know if when the grant cycle is. I know they were doing some work on it. It came by me and I reviewed it and sent it back, but I didn't know exactly when it was due. So I know that they're applying for funds for that, and they will probably as well be using some of their own funds. Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this is going to be helpful at all, but, and I'm not sure how much BID has expended, but there is also the facade grant, if they don't know about that, through BID.
Yep. And I will let them know. I don't think that cycle has opened up yet, right?
I don't
Correct?
know that, but I'm sure someone could
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah.
Are there any public comments? Any online, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, there are no public comments online.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve the reconstruction replacement of 3 sets of double exterior doors and restore approximately 100 windows for the property subject to a scenic facade easement located at 104 East Broadway.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean?
Aye.
Commissioner Logan?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff?
Aye.
Mayor Collins?
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Officer
much.
Attardo. At this time, is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, I do apologize. I do believe we have one other item on the agenda this evening under public hearings.
According to my agenda here, Which one? Public hearings. Consider a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow a residence multiple dwelling units, 3 or more units, in an R2 residential zoning district in the city of Helena, Montana. This project is located at 2211 Hauser Boulevard. Planner Alvarez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. As introduced, I am Michael Alvarez. I am a planner with the Community Development Department. And this item is a conditional use permit for property located at 2211 Hauser Boulevard. Specifically, this is consideration of a resolution for a conditional use permit as required by Section 1123 of City Code to allow a residence multiple dwelling unit in the R2 residential zoning district for property legally described as lots 17 and 18 in Block 303 of the Brook addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. This property is located on the south side of Hauser Boulevard, mid-block between Hiawatha Street and Silverette Street. This would be on the southeast corner of the platted Elizabeth Street that isn't developed, that runs through there. The land is presently vacant. The previous structure was demolished by the applicant. The land use was not determined for that property, although it was commercial. So the applicant property owner is looking to obtain a conditional use permit to allow multiple dwelling unit residents in the R2 residential zoning district. Specifically, they're looking to build 4 townhome style units. And in order to do so, they need the CUP. So a multiple dwelling units residence is a building containing 3 or more dwelling units for occupancy by 3 or more groups living separately from each other. In the R2 residential district, the intent of that district is to provide for the development of a mixture of residential structures to serve varied housing needs and allow, and it does allow for limited compatible non-residential uses. Won't read the entire definition of the growth policy area designation for the urban category, which this is in, but this category does include predominantly moderate to high density residential uses. So the site plan here, and in your packets, you might have seen 2 different site plans. The ones that are accurately reflect what they intend to build are the ones marked for review. Transportation Systems didn't want them to have 4 separate driveways coming off onto Hauser. So they've mirrored the 2 townhomes to share a driveway access so that they just have 2 driveways off onto Hauser. That's the one of the primary concerns from that the city gave back to them as notes. Here is some elevations to give you an idea of scaling as it may fit in the neighborhood over there. Where the subject property would be located on the original plat. So in considering a conditional use permit, Section A, 1134A are the standards that need to be met. Section 1134B are the factors used to determine whether the standards in Section A are met. And Section C informs us that any adverse impact on the standards of Section A may be used to justify the denial of a permit or the placement of conditions on that permit. Findings from the city, and I apologize, a couple of these findings are actually slightly out of dates. It was the intention of me to line this up for when you heard the Transportation Systems bring forward the curb and gutter, which I believe you heard last month, but a miscommunication means you're now hearing them at separate times, so I apologize for that. But the surrounding neighborhood is generally built out as single dwelling unit residential with some exceptions. The change in use from the previous commercial structure to townhomes aligns with the intent of the R2 zoning district. The proposal will meet the district dimensional standards and not require variance. And then you have already heard and decided on the sidewalk, curb, and gutter concerns last month for this property, which I believe you all voted to approve. This was legally noticed in the Helena IR. Neighbor notices were mailed to adjacent property owners and a sign was placed on the premises. And as of today, no public comment was received for the proposal. On August 8th, the Zoning Commission recommended approval of a resolution granting a conditional use permit as required by Section 1123 of City Code to allow residents multiple dwelling units in the R2 residential zoning district for property legally described as Lot 17 and 18 in Block 303 of the Brook Addition. The property being located at 2211 Hauser Boulevard with the following conditions. 1, a building permit must be submitted for within 1 year, and 2, all conditions must be met within 1 year of CUP approval as per Section 1139 of Helena City Code. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Alvarez. Comments or questions from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm curious, do we know if these are going to be rentals or owner occupied?
I do not know, but there is thank you, Mayor and Commission. But we do have a representative, the architect, or if you'd like to ask them.
I will wait for public comment and look forward to the answer.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments at this time?
Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, my name is Jacob Augenstein. I work with Slate Architecture, and I am the representative for Ray Kuntz, who is the developer of this property. He is planning to sell these properties. Once they're sold, whether they're rentals or what they do with them, he can't control, but these will be sold from him, so they're not going to be rentals that we know of. Yep. But we're really excited to move forward on this, and the high density for these types of projects is needed, and urban sprawl is horrible and we don't like it, and we do feel like this is a great opportunity for the city, so thank you for having me.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow residents multiple dwelling units, 3 or more units in an R2 residential zoning district in the city of Helena, Montana, with the conditions that number 1, a building permit must be submitted within 1 year. Number 2, all conditions must be met within 1 year of the CUP approval as per Section 1139 of Helena City Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Any final from the commission? This meeting is adjourned.